Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with Shawna. I'm so excited today to introduce you to our guest. And for those of you who haven't met me, my name is Shawna Roche, and I'm a transformational coach. I work with my clients to help them through fear, doubt, and uncertainty into love, expansion, and opportunities. So with having said that, welcome. If you're joining us live, please say hi and let me know where you're coming in from. If you're on the replay, give me hashtag replay so we can shout out later and say hi. And if you're coming in from my Powerhouse Women group, just click the StreamYard link above so we can see who you are and see the comments. So with having said that, here we are. I want to introduce you to today's guest and a dear friend, Heather Ruth. Welcome, Heather.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. So I just wanted to give everybody a little background. So Heather Ruth is a conscious connection coach. Oh, I just love saying that. That just feels so, oh my God, yes, you are. You're very good at connection. Numerologist, Reiki practitioner, soul truth mentor, mama, amazing, I might say, speaker and mentor to parents, entering into the new paradigm of connection. It just feels amazing. I love that. Her corporate career and degree in Latin American studies ignited her passion around natural design and connection. Heather has immersed herself in the ebb and flow of the universe by studying the influence of numbers, cultures, nature, and spiritual connection. I just love your bio. It just lights me up. Heather has a vision of a world where our roots run deep. Connection is felt and experienced daily through practices like meditation, journaling, contemplation, and stillness. Yes, stillness. Her most cherished conversation is around energy connection and how to utilize that to evaluate your life and those who come into your sphere. Wow, Heather.
I can't believe I wrote that.
I'm like, this is good.
Yes.
I have to get you to rewrite my bio.
You know what? Writing about yourself is actually one of the hardest things to do. So if you ever need help, let me know.
No, it is. It really is. Yeah.
And it's ego mind.
Oh, it is totally. And then it's like, and then people say, okay, you need a short bio for like this social media. You need a longer bio here and bio here. And it's like, oh my God.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So welcome to the show. I'm so excited you're here and I can't wait for this conversation.
Me too.
Before we went live, Heather had mentioned ending generational trauma and working with parents. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so that really actually stems from my own experience. So my experience was so it's funny because I had this conversation with my mom earlier this year, and she said, I should not have put so much expectation on you to be something that wasn't innately who you were.
How beautiful.
Because she was trying to figure out, understand my depression and understand why I had such high anxiety later in my life. And I understood and realized that I was misdiagnosed. I had postpartum depression after my second child. But it was never really identified because I was really good at covering it up. I was really good at just saying everything was fine and I was good until the bubble burst. And it burst when they both went off to school. And that's when it got really bad for me. And I had to really understand what healing myself was. But coming to the truths of what I was always trying to pursue was for other people and not for myself. And so when I say I want to heal generational trauma, I want to stop parents passing down their own baggage to their children because their children don't deserve it.
Yeah.
We don't deserve our kids going through the world saying, oh man, my mom sure gave me that. Or, oh, could you remember when, you know what I mean? It wasn't that my mom gave me anything, it's that we took it on because we didn't know any better back then. Right? She didn't know any better how to do parent any differently. And so we tend to parent the way our parents parent. And I wanted to break that because the next generation and where we're living and what's happening in the world today, we need to come from an elevated conscious level where we're not always healing ourselves. We don't necessarily say we're healed, but we're working on ourselves so that we don't pass it on to our kids.
Oh, I love that you said that. And it's like, it's not so much as we're healed, because I think we're always healing. There's always something to heal. It's part of the learning and growing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a big part of like, do we keep looking at the past and try to fix things that have already happened? Or do we actually sit in the present and go, okay, well, how am I actually feeling about that today? Because I can't change how my parents parented me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I can change how I parent my kids, and I can change how I build that relationship with them, which then has actually healed my relationship with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It
Because
does.
I healed, because I didn't look at them and go, whoa, you guys did all this to me, because they didn't do that to me. Right?
But it's so easy to go there, and typically people will go there.
Yeah. And so I used to, I think I tell ourselves stories a lot. And so being really honest, I had a great childhood for the most part, but my parents did get separate when I was 6. And we moved around a lot. I wasn't in one place in grade 1, and I lived with my grandma, and I didn't have a lot of friends. And so from those moments propelled different things, like the stories in my head that I don't have a lot of friends, or I don't make friends easily. These are the things that I had to heal for myself, because they didn't create that. They didn't mean to do that. I created those stories and made them bigger than they are. And I don't want to pass that on to my kids. And so here's a funny story. My daughter went to school this year, and she's in a class with none of her friends. And instantly I could feel this like anxiety rising in my chest, because I felt sadness. Wasn't her sadness. I was feeling for myself and how I would have felt in class without my friends. And she was like, that's cool. I'm good. I'm going to school for school. Yep. And I was like, oh my God. And then I had like an aha moment where I was like, oh my goodness. I'm saying, are you okay? Are you feeling sad? No. That's what I want to stop parents from doing, is those feelings that we have about those types of relationships, we then infer them onto our kids when they're not experiencing that.
Yeah. Oh my
right?
God.
That's got to change.
It's so true. And you can, I mean, I don't have children, but I see the dynamics around. Mm-hmm. And even like just doing healing work and doing the work where I'm at, it's now like I'm more of an observer.
Yeah.
And so I'm more aware of seeing, and you can really see the generational patterns. And it is time to like,
yeah, let's chop that block off. Let's stop it. And that's what bridges us right into how I do my work, by utilizing tools like numerology to understand myself. I help my clients understand themselves, but ultimately I help them understand how to parent their kids. First, you got to parent yourself, and then you got to parent your kids. Right? Because we've gone through, I've seen a lot of different things my oldest is 12. So in the 12 years of being a parent, I've seen a lot of differences in parenting, from helicopter parenting to overprotection to super casual and laid back. And why we're doing all those things is not because of them, it's because of ourselves. We just don't know how to handle the fear, the unknown. And so we parent in all these kind of like holding tight ways instead of these like freedom flow ways.
Oh my God, I love that. That's actually really good. Parenting with freedom flow.
Mm-hmm. Because you have to, please. Especially today.
Well, you know what it is. And yeah, like, it's like you said, like the helicopter parents, and it's like, oh my gosh, I love that. I love it. Let's talk about that some more. Cause it's like,
well, I'm still so this is even worse. During this, I think helicopter parenting could come out in a really bad way. Yeah. Especially with all the fear that's in the world, right? The fear, the chaos, and so much unknown, everything shifting and changing. And those that aren't dropping into another level of consciousness or awareness within like themselves to then be aware of what's happening in the outside world are going to parent from this helicopter fear. So I got to protect my kid and make sure he doesn't get sick, because then, oh my goodness, that's going to look bad on me. And so then we hover. And the kids then don't learn how to be themselves or make relationships with other kids.
Yeah.
They're really hindered. And I watched this unfold like a couple weekends ago, watching a kid trying to relate to other kids, and the parent kept stepping in and trying to like manage the relationship. And the other kids were like, who are you?
Yeah.
Right? We have to let kids be kids.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I love that you said that. I had this conversation over the long weekend with my brother and his wife and their 11-year-old twins, and beautiful kids, such beautiful kids. I love it because nothing against my parents either, but my brother said, I love it. We have this conversation all the time because he's like, he is exactly like that, with the freedom and the flow with the kids. And like, even when it comes to like food, because food can be a big one too, right? Where I've seen parents say to their kids right away, oh, you won't like that. Oh, you won't like that. Oh, you won't like that. And it's like, how do you know they won't like it? How about let them try it and let them decide for themselves? And it was a really interesting dynamics because we were sitting there, and I normally, this is awesome because this shows like the healing I've done, how healing can be in different ways. Like people might look at, oh, healing. But the thing is for me is they come every September for I don't know how many years. And I would always, before they come, I'd be like going, oh my God, what do the kids like? Don't they like? And I would stress out like about planning the meals and doing this and doing this. And I had to laugh because my sister-in-law knows I can, get a little worried about it. And she's doing this. Oh my God, she's fantastic. She's this beautiful, they're not on social media. So it's really interesting. She's this gorgeous Spanish, beautiful woman. And she does these bikini competitions because she's helps people like fitness instructor. And so she's in one of these competitions getting ready. So her food is a certain way. And she didn't want to tell me because she knew I'd stress out about it. And I laughed because the day before they came, the day they were coming, I went and bought like a few things. And then she showed up and I was like, actually, no, I've got nothing planned. She's like, what? I'm like, there's a store 4 blocks away. I figured I could just sit here and say, what do you want to eat? And I winged it all weekend. I said, I'm done. I'm done trying to figure out who wants what, blah, 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 blah. We're just going to sit at the table. I'm going to say, what do you guys want to eat? This is you're here, Auntie's weekend. You get to have whatever you want. Auntie will make it. And so they're like, we want hamburgers. I'm like, okay, hamburgers it is. Let's go to the store.
I have been in your world for a while, and that is a huge change because I know every little detail used to make a big difference. And for you, right? And so I want to make it perfect. I remember coming to your house for a retreat, and you were just trying to make everything. What do you like? What do you like to eat? And I was like, I'll pretty much eat everything. I love that you have that conversation with your brother. I love that your brother is in more that freedom flow with his kids. We definitely do not cater to our children in this household. We make food. And if they're hungry, they're going to eat it. Yeah. If they're not, my kids are now 11 and 12. So they're going to be old enough to get up and say, well, I tried it. I don't like that. And they're going to go make themselves something else. Yeah. I am not a 5-star chef. I do not have a big working kitchen. I don't have the capacity to cook 4 different individual meals. And so here it is. I will always provide good vegetables. I will always provide something that's yummy. And if you don't like it, well, then that's on you. Right. It. And so we were last night, and my daughter doesn't like pierogies, and we had leftover salmon and quinoa in the fridge. And so that's what she ate.
I love it.
Right. And it was just, we always ask her, like, this is what we're making. And she said she's always willing to try. She's my 3, but she doesn't always love everything. Right. And she used to be my meat eater, and now she's more my fish eater. Right. And kids change. And so you can have a really good eater as a toddler or as an infant. And when they become older, they can also become really picky because their taste buds change. And this is really big. And I think parents always worry about, like, oh, he was such a good eater when he was 2, but now he's like 4 and he won't eat anything. Yeah, because he changed. Because he grew up. He's starting to like taste things differently, and things don't taste the same. Mm-hmm. And it's because their taste buds start to develop. And so I think we forget about that aspect too when it comes to food.
We forget about a lot of things. I'm just going to check some of the comments here.
Yeah.
Hey, Susan, thanks for joining us. Wow, that's incredible. I see it too. Wow. I didn't want to interrupt the conversation. Grooviness. Oh, hey, Mark. How are you, buddy? Mark's a good friend. Very unhealthy. Breakthrough for you. I know.
Right? Like, just you recognize that, and I recognize that. That's why I was like, oh my goodness, like what a beautiful transformation you've made in that, where you can just be like, hey, I can fly by the seat of my pants too.
Yeah. I mean, before, totally. I mean, I was the chef. I love cooking the 4-course meals. And now it's like, this is so funny because I love it. I've kind of got to the opposite. where for a
Right.
long time, Rudy would come home and he's like, what's for dinner? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to make? so I laughed. I actually started doing HelloFresh again. I did it last year, and then I started doing it again for the last while because, you know, as an entrepreneur, it's like we work when we work and when we're inspired. And a lot of times the way my day would go, my mornings be whatever. And then I would like literally 4 to 7 o'clock were usually productive hours for me. Right. And then Bernie would come home with sick and he's like, what's dinner? What's for dinner? I'm like right in the middle of something. So I just lost all my planning. I planned way better when I worked, but it's like, you know what? I don't need to plan anymore. So now I just have the HelloFresh. So I pull out what do you want? We have this, pick up the bag and give her.
Yeah. Well, what's your numerological number 2 though? You're 5? You're 3. Okay. You're like my daughter. Yeah. Everything comes abundantly to you, like really. Right. So I think just also understanding, like my daughter is really good at flying by the seat of her pants. She's always embraced that part of it herself. She knows she's not going to go hungry in life, right? So she'll open the fridge. What I wish she didn't open it for so long, letting all the cold air out, but she will open and stare at it, and it's like she's looking for inspiration. What's going to hit me today? Like, what am I inspired to eat? You know, she's always looking for that. Whereas my son, actually, he asks me first thing in the morning, so what do you think's for dinner? And I'm like, I haven't thought about that yet. Because I'm the like 2 p.m. Oh, dinner's coming. Oh, whoops, kind of mom. Right? Well, and I can throw things together pretty easily, but you know, and so we're like you. We get a lot of our food delivered now. Like all of our vegetables. Like we shifted a lot of stuff in the environment. We've had an opportunity to, and so you mentioned in my bio stillness, and we've had an opportunity. We used to be an extremely busy family, which means we were always on the go. We were always doing BMX or something sporty. And we took this opportunity to slow down and sit in stillness, but as a family unit, to discover what that meant for us, to really feel into how we actually want to live instead of like do what everyone else has always been doing and sign your kids up for all the things. Because we actually we enjoyed all this invitation of stillness. And my kids decided to retire from racing BMX bikes.
Oh, wow.
Which is a really big decision. This was not made by me. This was made by them 100%. Because if they wanted to return, we would have returned. And all we did was have really open conversations. And this is the part that I think is starting to change for a lot of parents. Parents are realizing that kids have their own feelings and emotions, and they don't need to be told what to do anymore. We just have to be willing to listen to it. And that's the difference.
Yeah.
Willing to listen to what they're saying to us when we're not like in between the lines. And so I asked my son and he's like, oh, I love it. He goes, but I don't love it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not dying to go out there and do it. And so we sat for 2 months and not one time did they ask to go ride their BMX bikes.
Wow.
And that was like a writing on the wall, but they were asking to go mountain biking.
Oh, cool.
And hiking and doing these kinds of things. And so also understanding that neither of my kids are actually drawn to physical activity naturally made a huge sense that we were pushing them in a direction that they never really actually wanted to do on their own.
I love that you said that because that's where, numerology is so powerful in so many ways, but it's knowing your numbers and your children's numbers. And if they have nothing on there, they're not lined up on the physical plane. It's like, and then you're pushing them to do physical stuff when it doesn't come naturally to them. I mean, it's so huge. And you talked about parenting with flow. And I think that is such a big portion of it. Part of it is understanding those numbers, seeing where they're at. Okay. Are they more mental? Are they more physical? Are they emotional? Like, where are they? Do they have the arrow of determination? Do they have the arrow of procrastination? Like, what do they have? Because as parents, it's like, we were having this discussion last week with a friend where it was like the cookie cutter thing. It was like, you're born, you go through school, you all take the same courses, you all do this, you do this, you do this, and you get married, you have kids, blah, 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 blah. That's not the way it is.
No.
And,
well, and you look at right now. So lots of kids are going back to school, right? Lots of kids are staying at home. Like lots of families have chosen to do some homeschooling, whatever reason, like that choice was there. Some are doing hybrid programs. everyone's trying to figure out what works for them. And I was talking about this in my group today, which really boils down to trusting.
Yeah.
And not buying into illusion, but trusting and not betraying yourself in these decisions during these times. Mm-hmm. Understanding what you need, doesn't matter what the family over here needs. Yeah. What does your family actually require and need to be alive moving forward? And so when it came back to going to school, I sat down with my kids and I said, okay, here's some of our options. I'm happy to do some homeschooling. I don't really want to do it full time. And I was honest because I don't want to fight with you. I choose not to be our way. Yeah. What do you guys want? What do you feel like you want? And they both said, we would like to go back to school and see how it feels. Because if it gets ugly or yucky or too much, then I said, you know what? We can always pull you back out. We have a month to make those big decisions. And so they're in, and right now my son loves school. My daughter, I think, likes school. I wouldn't say she loves it. Yeah. Because she does like sleep. A lot of it. But they both chose that for themselves. Mm-hmm. I didn't choose it for them. And that's the biggest decision is once our kids are at an age, and I would say you can start they should be starting to choose at about the age of 9. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They should be a part of the conversation as they are start saying their piece. So 5, kindergarten, they need a part of the conversation that has to do with them. Parents, I find that the old way or the old paradigm was to make the decisions for our kids. I'm going to sign my kid up for soccer. And then you get down to the soccer field and the kid hates it. Because did you ever play soccer with them in the backyard to discover if they actually enjoyed kicking a ball? Yeah. Maybe not. But you just wanted to put them in something so that they're physically active. Yeah. Instead, actually engage, like, what kind of activities light you up? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What kind of conversations? Like, I ask my kids every day after school, what was the worst part of your day?
I love it.
I'm trying to get them to tap into, and Mason, my Mason said, there's nothing bad about today. I loved it all. But my favorite part was science. And so you need to broaden the way that they think. Because if you just said, how was school? They're going to tell you it was good. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And good's not a word. Like I asked my daughter how she's feeling. She's like, I feel good. I'm like, that's not an emotion.
I love it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the more we talk about these kinds of things, I think they realize what they're dealing with themselves, and we're therefore not passing our baggage on.
Yes.
To them. Yeah. Because they know now to have this conversation. Good is not an emotion. Good is like an adjective or adverb or whatever. Right? It's not even a great word to describe many things.
It's not. And I love that you said that, because for years and years and years, I would get up in the morning, I was showering, and as I'm driving to work, I would always think in my head, if people ask how you doing, I'm like, good. And I literally shut myself down from feelings. And I was so in my masculine, energy, masculine drive that I was like, I don't feel anything. And when people ask me, how do you feel? And I'm like, I'm good. And it was like, I couldn't even interpret how I was feeling, because I was so used to saying, oh, I'm good. When really I wasn't.
Oh, trust me. I used to tell people, my girlfriend said to me this summer, I didn't even know you were that depressed. You're always just so happy. I'm like, oh yeah. I would like get to the door, put on the happy mask, walk out the door, be all like bubbly, get behind, take it off, and like,
I'm done.
And be drained, physically drained. And that's how I knew I wasn't being honest. I wasn't being truthful with myself. That's why I call myself the truthful mentor. I really get my clients to be super, super truthful with themselves. Trust me, I'm still working on myself too. Yeah, so you're like, and we can work on it together. Or sometimes clients will bring something up and you'll be like, oh my goodness. That I might need to look at that myself. Right. And it's just creating awareness and being okay with that conversation. But good is a mask. It's a mask that we all wear. Yeah. And so people will text me, hey, how are you doing? And I'll like go to do that. Oh, I'm good. Oh, just let me actually check in. Pause, wait for 5 seconds. You know what? Feeling pretty fantastic today. Right. And so it's just looking at that and understanding how to have that conversation. So here's where I utilize numerology. That's right, Susan, automatically saying that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. The kids only learn that because we say that.
Yeah.
Is that they send home, get to know your kid. Like, can you write a paragraph or a million words? I think my son sent a million or less. So I just wrote this huge paragraph and I said, like, my son will not necessarily self-advocate for himself if he's feeling put in a corner or in trouble. He tends to just kind of go with the flow. He really does like structure. So if you just change it up on him, he's, probably going to feel uncomfortable. And he's reading it and he goes, Mom, how do you know me so good? I'm like, oh, buddy, I just took that information off your chart. And I know you really did, but it's also how I can communicate it to the child. Like, and I was honest, like he hasn't fallen in love with reading yet. So he may try, but he won't tell you because he's a 6. So he wants to keep balance and harmony and peace and all that fun things.
Yeah.
So he's not going to tell you because he thinks if he does, he's going to tip the scales one way or the other.
I love that he's a 6.
That's my love bug.
Yeah. Little love bug. I love that. Yeah.
It is because, and the only reason I know that too is that he must give me like 80 hugs a night before bedtime. Right? Like he's constantly snuggling just before bedtime. And then he just wants to be, he so wants to just know that we're all around. Yeah. And it's cute because he'll like, love you, Brooklyn, as he's going to bed, like to his sister. And his sister's like, I know. So she doesn't say it back. She's such a 3. She's like, yeah, I know you love me. Forget.
Yeah.
That too. Kind of thing. So that's the beautiful part. But that's what I want to stop. And so it started with me doing it with my own family. It started with me recognizing what I was passing on and that I didn't want to pass on old parenting paradigms, that I wanted to pass on the new way of just living so that when my kids do decide to become parents or whatever they end up doing in life, that they know they have that power. So I share their charts with them.
I love it.
On a regular basis, and we sit down and we look at like, how can we amplify that? Or if like my daughter's in like the opposite side of the 3, the shadow side, I know. And I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
How do we get out of this? Like, what do I got to do? Right. And I'm a 7. So I'm really sensitive to all energy that comes into the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so just having these little nudges of awareness, I cannot tell you enough of how important it is in just life, business, and if you're a parent.
Yeah.
Next level.
And you're inherently a teacher too.
Yes.
And with the 3s, I know because I am a 3. So it's like, it is all about, amplification, abundance, creativity. So if us 3s are feeling good and we're good, everything's like, woohoo, great. But if the 3 is out of alignment and not feeling good, it's amplified that much more.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because you can have your highs and lows. So it's knowing how to, and I think back to when I was a little girl and like some of my outbursts and stuff. And I was like, it's because people didn't understand me. And just knowing that and really diving into the 3 and the numbers going, wow, that makes so much sense. And I love that because every time, and you probably know this too, like for me, I call my power codes. Every time you develop, you deliver a code or a blueprint, whatever it may be, it's like people always say, like your Sally's, how did you know me so well? And the other thing the comment I get all the time is like, oh my God, you just gave me permission to be me. That's why I am the way I am. That's why I react to people this way. That's why I have these feelings or I take things a certain way. So it lights me up so much when I deliver a power code and I show them like, this is how powerful you are, and you get to make these choices. And so they turn around, they say it. And I don't know about your clients, but I get it all. Now I'm starting to get it. It's like, oh, I just say, Shawna gives me permission to be me.
Yeah. And my clients are like, when I've delivered quite a few, because I don't just do the individual, I'll take, like if they have a child, I'll also give them a mini one of their kid.
I love that you do the kids and the family. Yeah.
Yeah. So here you are, and then here's the kids, like ruling numbers. Like I won't go like, and then their personal day. And that's kind of where I end. Because let's face it, kids are also developing and growing.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's still so many different influences that are going to come at them that are also going to make them who they are.
Yeah.
Right. So they're not finite.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not finite. And I think that's what everyone believes is that, well, I'm 30. What am I, 43 this year? So I'm 43. Forgot how old I was. Feel 21. Doesn't mean I'm not done growing.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't mean that I'm not done exploring all the other avenues of who I am.
Yeah.
And there I was yesterday in the bad side of the 7 because I was being super critical of myself and I wasn't loving things. And I was like edgy by the time my kids came home because I have things on my mind like trust, illusion, betrayal, all these kind of what's basically out in the world. These words kept coming to me. And I was like, am I betraying myself?
Yeah.
Am I betraying my kids? Like, and I was always in these questioning moments, and that's the 7. The 7 is overanalyzing herself. The teacher is like, can she learn? That I said to my husband, just give me 5 minutes to decompress for a second. Instead of, because they're just shooting things at me and I'm not answering, and I look like a deer in the headlights, like, I don't know what to do right now. And I just needed 5 minutes to just breathe, center myself and go, okay, what's important right this second? What's the next best step for me to move forward today?
Yeah.
And it was just be like, I'm aware of the betrayal, the trust, and the illusions that are happening, but that doesn't make me who I am.
Yeah.
And I give permission. So when we give permission to be ourselves, we give permission to our kids to just be themselves in every moment of the everyday.
Oh, I love it.
And that's freedom.
Yeah.
And I am a seeker of freedom.
Yep. And that's what the kids need. Definitely.
Yeah. They need structure. Don't get me wrong. Like, we need to have structure, and you need to teach them how to set boundaries, but you teach them how to set their boundaries. And then you have to respect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, I think, some of the parts is words like, just do that because I told you so. That doesn't work anymore. Kids will, trust me, they'll look at you like, and they're basically giving you the middle finger.
It never worked for a 3. It didn't work for my mom 40-something, 50 years ago, whatever.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that way, right? I just don't think that life operates like, do this because I said so. Well, employers are finding out that's not working.
Yeah.
Right? Business owners are finding out.
I had that conversation probably 25 years ago with an ex-sister-in-law. When she kept saying that to my nephew, she just kept saying, because I said so, because I said so. And I had one nephew back then, but he's like, but why? Can you just tell me why? And she'd be like, no, because I said so. And I was sitting there and I'm watching these dynamics back then. Yeah. And I didn't want to say anything in front of my nephew. But when I was alone with my sister-in-law, and I just said to her, I said, you know what? I'm watching this as an observer here. And he just wants to know why. Like, just, can you take 2 minutes to just explain why you said that? I said, he was so much happier. I said, no, you're frustrated. He's frustrated. Like, what are you doing here? And she just looked at me like, well, you don't have kids. You don't know. And I'm like, well, actually, no, I don't have kids.
You know what? I hate that comment.
Yeah.
That's a trigger for me when people say, oh, you don't have kids. That doesn't mean that they just chose not to have their own kids. That doesn't make them unparentable or not being able to see what's going on that feels awkward or awful. Yeah. Right? It doesn't make you any less of a parent. Kids or no kids, you can be a parent. And that's what I think needs to change, is that everyone, we're a village, we're a community, we're a tribe, whatever you want to name it. Yeah. It takes the world to raise the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Humanity has to raise humanity. If we want to raise humane, conscious next generations, then we need to stand together and stop standing apart. And we need to stop pointing fingers and saying, well, you're not a parent, so you don't get it. Okay, maybe you don't get what it is to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning with a screaming child and a fever of 105. Trust me, though, you feel it when your friends are super bagged and tired.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Susan too, because Susan doesn't have kids either. So yeah, she would get that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean you don't have insight. It doesn't mean that you can't see those little humans for who they are. So aunts, uncles, you're all fucking parents.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You are. I mean, I don't even know. What do I have? 33 nieces and nephews? I can't even count.
33? How big is your family?
Well, Bernie's side, because there's 9. Right. And then on my side, and then I have nieces and nephews, like there's great grandkids now, or great nieces and nephews. So it just keeps going. And it's really interesting though, because 3 of my nephews, I was a part from the time they were born. Like, I was a huge part of their lives. So I was very much a part of it. And it's interesting, even though I didn't have children, and there's reasons, whatever. I didn't have children, but it's really interesting because when you look at part of it, it was like, when you look at sort of my numbers and part of my chart, it's like, I wasn't meant to have children. I am very motherly and nurturing, but kind of like you said, it's like of the world and other people. Right. And yeah, so it,
yeah. When people say that I'm like, stop now.
Yeah, like, no. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's got to change. People need to take certain things out of their vocabulary, or that's part of judgment. But you're not a parent. So you weren't judging her. You were just saying, hey, I don't understand why you're not telling him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something, because kids want to know. And if they want to know, and then you're not giving them the answers, trust me, they're going to go find it from somewhere else. And it might not always be good.
Yeah.
Information. So why can't you be the positive information that comes to them?
Yeah.
Right? Why can't you be that? And so I think I did a post the other day about you be the inspiration that you are looking for. Yeah. Right. And I have these kinds of signs all over the house to my kids. Like, I'm like, you be that inspiration that you're looking for. You be it. Go do it. And so like, she inspires me. Like my daughter inspires me so much because she's embraced who she is. One day she'll wear a dress. The next day she'll wear pants and a backward hat and a hoodie. Like, she doesn't care what anyone else thinks about her. Like, oh my God, I cared so much what people thought about me that I shopped and wore clothes that were uncomfortable because I wanted to fit in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she wears what she wants to wear. I had a parent ask her daughter, that then pass it on to my daughter, why does Brooklyn like to wear boys' clothes? And Brooklyn brought it to me, and Brooklyn goes, I don't care. I like to wear them because they're comfortable. Right? Like, that didn't offend her. I was a bit offended, but then all of a sudden I thought back and went, oh, you know what? Whatever. And I just let that go aside. I could have been offended that someone thought that I wasn't a good parent because I wasn't going shopping for her all the time. No, her brother says, hey, I don't fit this anymore. Would you like it? And she's like, yeah, that's kind of rad. Cool.
I wonder if that's part of a 3 thing. I wore my older brother's clothes all the time, and sometimes he had corduroys. Okay, like we're talking corduroys back in the 80s,
right?
And they were called Ziggy. And he was,
I remember those.
He was so mad because he'd be wanting to go out on a date, and I'd be wearing his favorite clothes.
Yeah, so I think the 3 is abundant. Clothes are clothes. Yeah. They cover me up. That one makes me feel good, so it doesn't matter if it's out of the men's section or the girls section.
We wear clothes the way we feel. Like, I laughed today. Like, I'm wearing a T-shirt that says "Open Your Heart" with a white frilly lace skirt and pearls. Because
I love it, and I'm wearing one that says "Thankful."
What do I feel like today? Like, I just have fun with it. So
yeah, and that's what I think the world needs more of. They need more of these conversations. The world needs more people just standing up for themselves and saying, hey, this is who I am and I love myself, and it really doesn't matter what you think about me because it's none of my business. Yeah. And that's what I've taught my kids, is that it's none of their business what anyone else thinks of them other than what they think of themselves.
Perfect. Oh my God, I love this conversation. We can go on forever. Look at us. We're almost
I could talk on this for hours.
But I just want to say too, like, we'll put your thing in your link in the comments where people can get a hold of you. But I love that. I just wrote that down because I love it. And generational trauma.
Yeah. So like, I have a group called the Fuller Cup. Anyone's allowed to join. We talk about all these kinds of things. I talk about numbers. I talk about, stop reaching into the past because you're going to forget the present, and then you'll definitely never see the future. Those kinds of things. We talk all about these kinds of things. It's really about filling our cups, being essentially who we are, and loving and rejoicing in it, which then allows us to be better, more confident humans and parents. And so I talk about a lot of different things, but the Fuller Cup is one place that I like to hang out. And then the other place, my webpage is going under construction at the moment, but heatherruth.com. Please come check me out. And if you ever just want to have a conversation, I'm always open.
Let's reach out to Heather. Definitely. Awesome. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Heather, and thank you for joining us live. It was wonderful conversation. We can go on forever.
Yes.
But thank you so much, everyone. Have a fabulous Thursday. Bye.